Hey, performers, welcome back to Danny Robertson Music, where we're trying to help you be the performer that you're meant to be. I'm Danny Robertson. Thank you for joining me again this week. Now, most of you know me as a keyboard player who sings sometimes in a band, and I have a lot of energy on stage, and that's what I tend to be known for, is being this crazy keyboard guy that does a lot of fun things on stage. What you may not realize is that with a lot of the bands that I have played with, I have kind of given myself some of these secondary roles, is what I'd call it. I think that some of us do this quite regularly. Actually, a lot of musicians, we tend to take on these secondary roles that we may not even realize we're doing. So I wanted to ask you one important question for today. What is your role in your band? For most of us, it's easy to define our role as the instrument we play. So we play keyboard, we play guitar, we are the vocalist, we are the singer. So we sing all the songs, we play the piano for all the songs. But I find that being in a band or being in a live performance situation, the performance requires more than just the musical portion. And there are actually many moving parts that come along with the musical performance and creates what I would call an unforgettable live experience. As musicians, each of us can bring some kind of unique talent to the table, and bands often rely on these secondary roles that we bring to actually make the performance great beyond just the music itself. Whether these roles involve being the shining light at the front of the stage or working quietly behind the scenes, all of these secondary roles are essential to a band's real success. And like I said, whether you're aware of it or not, you're probably filling one of those roles already. We're going to look at a handful of them today. So let's go take a look. The role of band leader is crucial in most bands. They're the ones that coordinate everything behind the scenes. Things like booking the gigs, working with the clients, handling their client requests, coordinating everybody's schedule, and most importantly, getting the band and every member in it paid. Some bands are run with a distinct band leader, maybe even the person that owns the band name and runs it as a business. They might contract out the different musicians to play in the performance, and they might get paid as contractors. There are other versions of bands where everybody's a family and we're in this together, everybody gets a democratic vote. But you still tend to have a couple of people in those bands that are driving everything. They're booking the gigs. They're getting the things done behind the scenes to make sure that the band is successful. So that role is very, very crucial. And usually those people are not the ones that are doing the most of the performing on stage. They're playing an instrument, but their work really involves a lot of the work that happens outside of the performance itself. They work hard to make the band successful, and it's a role that doesn't get noticed as much because it is off the stage more than it is on the stage. It's kind of like the producer of a movie. So if you're a musician playing regular gigs and getting paid well to play those gigs, thank your band leader every once in a while because they deserve that credit. The front person is probably the most obvious role that we could talk about here, but I want to point out one key thing here. Most people assume that the front person in a band is also the person that is the lead singer. A lot of the times that is true. The person who's doing the most singing for the band is also fronting the band. They're presenting themselves as the representative for the band on stage. The title of front person usually goes hand in hand with the lead singer, but sometimes that's not the case. I've been in bands where the lead singer is a great singer, but they don't enjoy talking to the audience, or they don't enjoy that portion of the performance, or they're just not very good at it. And so they let that role kind of go to someone else. Depending on what kind of band you're in, you might have a lead singer who sings most of the songs and a front person who does most of the talking with the audience. And that's okay. That's actually a good thing to kind of spread that role out, because that role can help build the relationship between the whole band and the audience. The musical foundation of your show is typically representative of a couple key musicians on stage. For me, it's usually the drummer and the bass player. They kind of sit there and hold the fort, essentially. They keep the music consistent, and they kind of focus on holding the musical portion of the performance down so that other performers on stage can work to entertain the audience. I've been really lucky in my musical career to play with some great musicians who have held down the foundation of a musical performance so that I can do things like run around with a camera or go off stage and entertain and dance with the crowd or try to engage in different ways, try to do a jumping jack on stage, things like that. Having that foundation, having the backline of musicians that will hold the fort down with the music portion of the show makes it possible for people like me who like to do more of the entertainment value, the visual entertainment on stage. On the flip side of that, you probably have a performer or two who, like myself, I fit into this category. You might deviate from playing the music. And the reason for that is to add the visual element and the entertainment value to the show that complements the musical portion of the show. The hype person is essentially the cheerleader for your group. They're the ones that engage the audience separately from just the music to encourage participation in the show. They're the ones that get the audience coming up to dance, doing the moves, singing along to the show, and you need that person to kind of add that extra stimulation factor to coach your audience into what you want them to do. It could be singing along. It could be doing a dance move from the dance floor. But the entire purpose of that is to help gain momentum for the performance. It helps the audience engage with you more, which then creates a better experience for both the audience and band alike. This next role is often an outside person that is not performing with the band, but a lot of the time you need somebody in the band that can do this so that when you can't hire an outside source, you have somebody who knows how to do it within your performing group. The sound man, the tech guru, whatever you want to call that role, this is the person that makes sure everything is working right on stage. You're getting the sound that you need on stage and in front of the audience. These are the people that will set up the stage, they'll put up the speakers, they'll put up the stage monitors, help with in-ear monitoring systems, they'll run all the cables, they'll set up the lights, and then they make sure it's all working together so that when the performance starts, you are ready to go, you have the sound you need on stage, and you sound good off stage, and you look good visually on stage. If it's somebody in your band, it's probably somebody that's also in your back line that focuses on the music. They can run a mixer from the side of the stage, or they can run a tablet that's actually managing all of the sound. A lot of these guys are absolutely brilliant at what they do. When something goes wrong on stage, they're the first one to be able to know exactly where the problem is and how to fix it. If that's one of your roles on stage, I applaud you because that's hard work to do, and it's not easy to do well consistently every single time. So well done. Another role that might go unnoticed, just like the sound person or tech guru, is the social media person or the marketing person. The person that is responsible for getting footage and capture content for the group and then making sure that that shows up in a place where people can see it, find out where the group is playing next, and make it so that your group has this consistent, cool looking brand that shows how energetic you are and how much fun you are and makes potential fans want to come and see a performance or even potentially book the group. These people might do things like run a website, regularly post updates to social channels, capture content all the freaking time. I do this a lot for some of the bands that I play with. They might even live stream or get things like behind the scenes footage. In one of my groups, I do a little bit of this, and I've got a trumpet player who does a lot of that on the social media side. We even shot a video last year in a green room at a club that we play at regularly, where we basically performed one of our songs acoustically with children's toy musical instruments, and then basically recorded a version of that song backstage. And it was a fun little attempt at trying something different. The social media person or the marketing person might be people in the band. It might be somebody outside of the band that's helping capture footage of you. It's good if somebody is filling that role within your group, either in the group or outside of it, because that will help show off your band, your brand to anybody who is not seeing you live. Now, this video could go on for a long time because there are so many secondary roles that you might be able to fill within your live performing group. But we're just going to list a handful of other ones because what you'll find out as you perform more and more is that a lot of these roles tend to overlap. A lot of the musicians that I know tend to take on multiple responsibilities that play into their own strengths and their own interests. You might have somebody like a set list strategist, a financial analyst, a wardrobe stylist, the peacemaker. Man, that's probably a key role to keep in a band. Somebody who is the negotiator between people so that when there are tiffs within a band, when there are frustrations, there's an easy way to approach handling those kinds of situations. I would say that in a lot of bands that probably goes to the band leader, but you might need a secondary person that does that as well. The logistics coordinator, the networker, the one that is helping you make contacts with venues and promoters and other kinds of contacts that might be useful to have within a live band situation. Who runs live sound? Who's a caterer? Who oversees a bunch of bands in a given area? The networker is an important role. So's the energy booster. That might be the person who is not necessarily all that critical to the performance level of the band or the behind the scenes, but they might just be a really, really good person to hang out with. They might play an instrument well, but they're a really nice guy or girl. Those are the people that you want to play in bands with because they're usually just great people. I played in a band with a bass player for years where we nicknamed him Awesome Sauce because everything about the guy's personality was, this is great. I'm loving this. This is a good time. I'm ready to do it. Let's go. Everything was always positive what came out of his mouth. And he was a fun guy to play with because he was just so full of positive energy. Going hand in hand with a band leader and maybe the marketing or social media person, you might have a creative director, somebody who wants to kind of visualize the band as a whole. The creative director might be the person that coordinates everything related to the brand that is your group. So what colors do you use on your website? What fonts do you use? What are you wearing on stage? And does that match what you're trying to do online? All of that can play into your overall brand, and the creative director might be the person that oversees that and makes sure that's all working together. So as you can see, I could go on and on about this, but I'm actually curious what you think. What secondary roles do you play in your band? Is there something that I missed out of this list? I'm sure that there is. So please share with me what your thoughts are on that. And if you want to dive deeper into these kinds of conversations, learn a little bit more about what makes a great performance, what's the recipe for a great performance, come check out Danny Robertson Music because we dive deeper into a lot of these kinds of topics, especially things like how you talk to your audience and how you create a performance that ebbs and flows and turns it into a great experience for your audience. So come check us out when you get a chance. I do hope you know that whatever role you play on stage, that role is important. And I want you to do that the best that you possibly can. Best of luck to you on your next live performance, and we will see you soon. Take care.